Hi everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing Mhudi by Plaatje. This is historical fiction and it was described as a romantic epic, which we'll get on later on. Plaatje firstly was a South African journalist and the founder of the South African Native National Congress, which became known as the African National Congress or ANC. In the book, it's about the expansion of Matabele land led by King Zilakazi. Firstly, we meet the Barolong people in Kunana who are living a very peaceful and pastoral life until the massacre of the people. And here on we meet Radaga, who is separated from his people since there was a massacre after all, and he is alone for quite a few weeks until he meets Mhudi, whose people as well had been massacred and she'd witnessed this massacre. They fall in love, and throughout the duration of the book we meet characters from different cultural groups such as the Korana people, the Basotho people, as well as Matabele people and the voortrekkers or Boers, who team up with the Barolong people to defeat King Zilakazi's people, the Matabele people. I found this book to be so boring. I was recommended this book by Prince on Goodreads quite a few years ago, and I don't know why I finally read it this year, but I think it's just also because I wanted to read a South African classic, but I was bored. It invented boredom. I don't know how many times I'm going to say how bored I was during this book. I found the narrative to be boring. I thought the dialogue was terrible. The pacing changed between medium and fast at times and did not make sense. There were decisions that were made in this book that did not make any sense at all. I understood that Plaatje was trying to drive the narrative forward, but he could have used other means to do that. For example, there's a part in this book where it is described in detail how Radaga participated in this race, because at some point Mhudi as well as Radaga meet another section of the Barolong people who hadn't been massacred because they were from Kunana Mosbon. And he's participating in this race and we get like one page of just how in detail about this race, and Plaatje was just trying to introduce the voortrekkers who are teaming up obviously with the Barolong people to just defeat the Matabele people. It did not make any sense. They could have just it could have just been about the Barolong people seeing the voortrekkers for the first time, or from the voortrekkers perspective to that perspective. I did not get why Mhudi was so in love with Radaga, to be honest. That was the stalest character that I've read this year. I understand that elements of it was because Mhudi had been alone and she'd witnessed the massacre and it just had happened in front of her eyes, where Radaga was kind of distanced from it because he'd only come in when it had already happened, whereas Mhudi had just witnessed it. And she's traumatized, and she hadn't met someone who was speaking her language in quite a while, so they were falling in love under these circumstances. But I did not get it at all. She kept on having to rescue him because she could see when he was in danger for any other reason. I don't know if she was a prophet or not. There was no explanation to that. As much as it was boring, there were times when I was intrigued, especially when we met secondary characters such as King Zilakazi as well as his consorts, who had, it was written better than Radaga as well as Mhudi, as well as the Basotho chief, who had a very philosophical approach to things, and he didn't believe in killing just for the sake of killing, whereas the Matabele people were just killing and just being brutal. It was also very weird just witnessing how the other characters viewed the Matabele people, because the Barolong people are described as very peaceful and the Matabele people were kind of depicted in a very savage way, and it made me uncomfortable, to be honest. But I don't know much about what was happening there, so just breezed through it. If you enjoy books about the war, Southern African wars, or books about war in general, this could be the book for you. But if you enjoy books with good dialogue, good character development, you like caring about characters even if they're unlikable or not, this is not the book for you. At some point there was Elizabethan English, which did not make any sense at all, because Prior to this, there wasn't. So Umnandi and Mhudi, Mnandi is Kim Zilakazi's wife, and they meet. Then they start conversing in Elizabethan English. But it had never happened like prior to this end point, and I did not get it. I tried reasoning and saying that maybe it's because Umnandi is a royal, but she never conversed like that with any other people at all. Like there were other chapters where Umnandi was involved, and she hadn't been speaking in Elizabethan language English. So I was like, why? Is this experimental? Are you saying fuck you to colonialism? But it did not make any sense at all. I'm not gonna read any books about the war in quite a few, like for quite a while. I was reading The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen, but I'm done with books about the war. No more wars. I mean that figuratively as well as literally, like no more. No. And I was fooled by the description that this was a romantic epic. I mean, they do have their happily ever after, but you need more than that in a romance. And I should stop being naive. Clearly, I was the wrong one in this matter. So yeah, that's it. As I said, if you're interested in books about the Southern African wars, could be it for you. But if you like books that are good, don't do this for yourself. Don't be intrigued by a negative review. Just don't. But if you decide to do it, go ahead. But other than that, I'll see you. Bye.